Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am Nakul Chetri, Dr. Nakul Chetri, working as a program manager for Transboundary Landscape Program here at ICIMOD. ICIMOD stands for International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. And today I'll be presenting our learnings and experiences on changing landscapes and fragmenting forest implications in socio-ecological system in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. So to start with, I'll have this presentation in the following sequence. I'll start with the introduction and also highlight some prevailing challenges, some of the implications that we have felt and noticed over the period of time, very few examples of resilience building as the time is limited, and also a slide in terms of the lessons learned. To start with, let me first introduce my organization. I am working at ICIMOD, as I have mentioned. It is an intergovernmental, non-political, and regional organization working in 8 countries, starting from Afghanistan till Bangladesh and Myanmar in the east and Afghanistan in the west. So the dark green part is our working area, but we still have a wider range of our interventions in terms of downstream river basins. We are defining ourselves as a mountain learning and knowledge and enabling center, which is basically promoting the regional cooperation between 8 countries. Our focused area of interventions are widely known for capacity building and also linking research with policy, as you have the slide in this particular slides. You can see that ICIMOD is in between science partner and the implementation and policy partners. So we try to bridge ourselves between the two. Just to introduce that Hindu Kush Himalayan region, the 8 countries that I have talked about is also the region where 4 of the 36 biodiversity hotspots are located. It is the largest reserve of ice outside the polar region. We also call it the third pole. It is a source of 10 major rivers, which are bringing water resources to almost 35% of the human beings. It has a diverse culture, languages, religions, and also traditional systems and knowledges. This is particularly known for biodiversity hotspots with 330 important bird and biodiversity areas and also 448 protected areas. What is important is there are 240 million people living in this area within the HKS region, but most importantly, it also caters, the services that comes out of it also caters 1.5 billion people. And just for biodiversity conservation and protected area management, we have this particular slide, which entails that there are 488 protected areas, and it covers almost 39% of the existing terrestrial region. And it has different categories of protected areas, and it is known for biological diversity hotspots also, as I have mentioned. What is important for this particular region is it has diversity in terms of land cover and also land use. Almost 60% of this particular region is a rangeland, the high altitude grassland, where majority of rural as well as the marginalized community depends on, and the rest are different categories of land use, and 15% are the forest category, and others are in different forms, as you can see in this particular slide. Over the period of time, this particular region, which is known for biodiversity, have witnessed a different type of pressure, as it has been defined by global communities that there are major drivers of changes, and one of the drivers of change is demographic change. This particular slide will tell you that right from 1700 till 2000, how the density of population changed over the period of time, and particularly our region, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, is being more populated over the decades and centuries, as it has been reflected in this slide. Another very important drivers of change is the land use land cover change. So over the period of time, this particular region again has witnessed 4 to 7% of land cover change. And in some cases like Nepal, it has witnessed more than 7%, in between 7 to 10% of land cover change. So that is a major factor which drives bring changes, or the drivers of change noted in this region. Another very important factor that is now bringing the global attention is air pollution. Because of different factors, the air pollution in this particular region, as well as somewhere else in the tropical countries, are very high. As you can see in this particular slide, that the Gangetic Plain in India, northern India, and some parts of Myanmar are very much into the red light area, or the higher percentage of pollution, especially the air pollution. Another very important factor, it has been notified by global communities that this invasive species is another very challenging drivers of change that is impinging or impacting on biodiversity, as well as the agricultural diversity over the period of time. And if you look at this particular slide, then again, the invasive species in our region is quite notable, and it is impacting in many areas across the region, as it has been shown in this particular slide. The most prevailing challenges that we have been facing is the climate change. Recently, we had a very thorough assessment of different drivers of change and the state-of-art kind of reporting in terms of HIMAP, the Himalayan Hindu Kush Monitoring Assessment Report, which came in 2019. And among many aspects, this climate change was very prominently featured in that report. And if you look at this particular slide, then 1.5 degree centigrade, which was agreed in Paris, is not enough for the Himalayan region, because Himalaya is warming higher rate compared to the other regions. And even if it is 1.5 degree centigrade in terms of Paris Agreement, then in the ideal situation, it will be 5.5 degree in the ideal situation. But if we control, then it can go up to 2.5 degrees centigrade. And if you really intervene and make it happen to the 1.5 degree, then it can be 2.1 degree. That means 1.5 degree at the global level will be 2.1 degree in the Himalayas. So that is very, very challenging and warning sign for us. What is important for all these drivers of change is also bringing vulnerability. There are different definitions of vulnerability, but particularly this slide entails you regarding the vulnerability to species. You can again see that some of the darkest red area are in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. That means the drivers of change that I mentioned is also impacting in different forms, and more specifically on biodiversity for species. Now, so what is important and what is the implications for this particular biodiversity rich area in the Himalayan region, which is also known for water towers, glaciers, the North Pole, is we do have this very ironic linkages between ecosystem and the socioeconomic system. The ecological system provides ecosystem services which flows to society, and the society is dependent on ecosystem services. But if it is overexploited, then definitely there is a stress. So this is the simplest form of interdependency with the nature. But these particular slides will tell you that there is a huge population density in the river basins. In northern India, you can see that the population density is very, very high. Likewise, in other basins, the population densities are very high. So that means, as I have already mentioned, that almost 35% of the humanity are dependent on this HKS region, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, for different kind of ecosystem services. And that dependency need to be thought and also considered while doing some interventions. Just one example from one of our studies, when we tell about this Hindu Kush Himalayan region, so almost 85%, 70 to 85% people are dependent on natural resources in the rural setup. And here in this particular slide, you'll see that almost 85% of people are dependent on the provisioning services for their subsistence livelihood. So that is quite high in terms of dependency towards nature. And if the nature is being impacted, then their livelihood will also be impacted. So in addition to those dependency, there are some other factors which are also quite notable. For example, 30% of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region are having some problem related to food security. 50% are malnutrition in terms of population, and also there is a high migration because of the climate change and other kind of globalization drivers, and also because of though being very rich in water resources, the energy crisis are there, the energy poverties are there. 80% of population are still lack the clean energy. And a very important aspect in terms of biodiversity is 70 to 80% of the original habitat is being already diverted or changed. And still, as I have mentioned, that 60 to 85% people are dependent on the natural resources. So what is the state of understanding in terms of our iconic species? Iconic species like snow leopard, the giant panda, red panda, Himalayan brown bear. So all this analysis says that almost only 10 to 12% are stable in their population. Less than or 10%, around 10% are increasing in population, but majority, almost 50% of the species that are very important for this ecosystem are decreasing. And also more than 25% species are unknown because we don't have very intensive systematic research protocol and practices in the region. Now, if we recall that this particular presentation is on the forest fragmentation and the land use, land cover change aspects. So you can see that there is a huge change in terms of forest loss over the period of time, and almost 80 to 100% of forest loss are reported in the northern Indian part, as well as in many parts of northeastern part of India, as well as Myanmar and other places, including Nepal. So that means there is a forest loss, the fragmentations are happening. Another very important indicators that is bringing a very warning signal is because of this climate change, the phenology of forest ecosystems are also changing. You can see in this particular slide that at present the phenological aspect is towards the east towards the west, and in the projection of 2100 it is shifting towards east. That means the phenological aspect is also having impact in terms of forest phenology and forest change. It is also evident that there are some indications of some of the species that are moving upward because of this increase in temperature and change in precipitation pattern over the period of time. And this particular example is on oak in one of the Western Himalayan region, where you can see the present scenario as well as the future scenario where there is likely that the species might change their altitudinal variation and move towards a higher altitude zone. But what is paradox, or what is being noted so far, is biodiversity is important, and biodiversity is the source of livelihood of billions of people in this world. And but comparatively, there is a higher attention being noted in terms of climate change. Here in this particular slide, you'll see that more number of publications are emerging in climate change, but biodiversity research is also increasing in trend, but the attention is being given more on the climate change science. So this indicates that we have to have a balanced approach, and biodiversity is equally important. So in this context, ICIMOD, the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, we strategize a framework to come up with this systematic research as well as intervene at the landscape level. And this particular slides will tell you that we have this 4 trans-Himalayan transect and 6 transboundary landscapes, and the names are there, like Hindu Kush Karakoram Pamir landscape, the Kailas landscape, then Kanchenjunga landscape, and landscape initiative for Far Eastern region. And we also have a RED Plus program embedded in this landscape program to support us in various aspects of RED Plus perspective. And what is our experiences so far? What we have done so far is we have been emphasizing on high alpine arid ecosystem and endangered species in the Hindu Kush Karakoram landscape. We have been emphasizing on a sacred landscape with unique biodiversity and culture in the Kailas landscape. We are emphasizing on protected areas, connectivity corridors in Kanchenjunga landscape, and also we have been emphasizing on biodiversity conservation because this the landscape initiatives for Eastern Himalaya is important because it is the confluence of 3 biodiversity hotspots and have high endemism. We also have one initiative that is being considered, but that is still in the conceptual phase, which is Chittagong Hill Tracts and Cherrapunji landscape. I'll just give 3 very concrete examples of what exactly we are trying to do in terms of resilience building related to these drivers of change are in this slide. And first and foremost is very much important to look for the social resilience, the ecological resilience and nature-based solution, but related to environmental, social and economic perspective. And here we have been emphasizing more on science, practice and policy interlinkages to emphasize on the holistic and understanding as well as interventions related to transboundary cooperation in these landscapes. In terms of environmental sustainability, this particular example is to tell you that in Kanchenjunga landscape, in one of the landscape, there are 19 protected areas, but they are not connected by corridors. And in the course of climate change and forest fragmentation, these small protected areas are not adequate for the species. And that's why we are intervening to identify corridors. And also because of this small protected areas, and also people are inhabited in the fringe and vicinity of these protected areas, there is a high intensity of human-wildlife conflict. So understanding these corridors and understanding this conflict are being considered to intervene and bring this environmental sustainability in one of the landscape. Another very important aspect is social well-being. The social well-being in resilience building is very, very important. And as I have already mentioned that there are 60% of the area is rangeland in the HKH region, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. And in one of the landscape, this Kanchenjunga landscape is also having similar type of pattern where high altitude rangeland is important for people dependent on high altitude agropastoralist system. And here the example is on Yak. which is an iconic species for mountains. Since this yak is being shared the ecosystem by all three countries, Nepal, India, as well as Bhutan. So they do have a connecting link in terms of culture. But in the recent decades, the culture and practices of yak herding from one country to another, moving from one country to another, has been limited because of the geopolitical system. So that's why the yak population is decreasing, the inbreeding is taking place, cultural deterioration is happening, and all the three countries, and more importantly Bhutan, is trying to revive this culture. So in one of the examples in this particular slide, you will see that there has been an initiative taken to make an exchange of productive bull of yak from one country to another, so that the population viability could be increased. It can be linked to proper market, and also have diversification in terms of products, so that the marginalized people living in the remote areas of this rangeland could benefit economically. The another aspect is economic well-being. The economic well-being is important, but in the mountain regions, what is important is also we have to have economic development in a sustainable way. So mountains are known for rich tradition, agrobiodiversity, and culture. And this particular example, if you see, then there are superfoods that is available, like millet and buckwheat and potatoes and many other aspects, which are slowly is being deteriorated. People are not interested in these superfoods, which are nutrient rich. But nowadays, this species, the traditional species, the crop diversity are also in the verge of extinction. So interventions are being made in terms of targeting economic well-being, but capitalizing on the existing heritage, the resources like crop diversity, the mountain niche products. In this particular example, you can see some traditional food in Sikkim, which is used by the Lepcha community, the Aboriginal people of this region, is being revived. Likewise, in Bhutan, some of the traditional food is being linked to tourism, and in rural tourism, homestays and some of the rural restaurant, it has been projected as a product, a unique product of tourism. So in this way, we are intervening in terms of economic well-being. These are some of these new examples, but what ICIMOD is doing so far is we have gone through this the Hindu Kush Himalayan assessment report, which brings different type of understanding. And recently we had a very high level ministerial meeting where we came up with these 6 urgent actions to be intervene and promoted as well as practiced by all the 8 countries, and all the minister of 8 countries were present to sign an agreement. And here are the 6 urgent actions where we are encouraging to cooperate at all levels, at local, national, and regional. And also limit the global warming to under 1.5 degree centigrade, as it is already mentioned that if it is 1.5 degree centigrade, then it is 2.1 degree centigrade or even higher in the Himalayan region. Enhance ecosystem resilience because the Himalayan region are very, very fragile. Recognize and prioritize the uniqueness of HKS mountain people. We do have culture, tradition, which has been there for ages and centuries. It is slowly being deteriorated. We have to preserve that. And also link very strongly to the global agendas such as sustainable development goals, and facilitate to achieve those. And more importantly, since this HKS region, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, is contiguous, having similar type of vegetation across the boundaries, across the political boundaries. So sharing of information and expertise were also encouraged. So this is from my side. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope you have got some glimpse of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, and I'll be happy to interact with you. And thanks for listening to my presentation. Thank you.